Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, of course, I would like to say that Rebecca would have loved to welcome you all here on behalf of the Green Group in the European Parliament, but also she is now on the street fighting for the right cause, being in Kiev right now. And I think what we see happening at this moment in Ukraine, where people are fighting for democracy, it shows that European values are worth fighting for, and that is also what we're trying to show there by supporting the people in Kiev. And I think there's one big difference with the Greens and many other political groups, and that is we were there also when the cameras weren't there. And we have always been stating, as European Greens, very clearly that the EU is more than just an internal market. It's more than just a euro. It's more than just finances and economic policies. We have also shown that, for example, and that's why Rebecca has so many links to the Ukraine, she was already there in '86 when the disaster in Chernobyl happened. And that's why she's having so many contacts with the people over there in Ukraine. And I think that is, of course, brings us to another topic on the fight that we as Greens have always been forming in the Parliament and outside, the fighting against nuclear. And despite what some people will tell you, that nuclear is on its way back, we as Greens are winning that fight. Over the last years, we've seen, for example, in Italy, a referendum clearly showing we don't want nuclear in our country. But also in Germany, finally that government followed what the German Greens have been fighting for. So we are winning that battle on nuclear energy, and that is important also to note. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. If you look at the United Kingdom, they tried to bring nuclear back on the agenda. If we look in Hungary, Orban, our friend Orban, that's a cynical one, he is now selling his country to Putin for nuclear energy. And what are we expecting from here? A communist fighter from the past is now giving his country again in the hands of Russians, only to get to nuclear energy. And that is also a fight which we as Greens are fighting all over the country, but certainly also in Hungary, where they will have elections this year. But in Brussels, we will have a very important debate on the future of energy and climate. The 2030 package shows you how important it is to show that we need another economy, another energy system as part of this energy package. And that is also one of the successes we had in the European Parliament, is the position of the European Parliament, which is clearly stating we need broader policies than only a climate target. We need specific targets on renewables. We need on energy efficiency. These kind of issues we've been fighting for, and now we have a majority in the European Parliament. But now the next fight is how to make sure that we get that same majority in the European Council. And I think there, for us, of course, it's very clear that the green policies are wise green economic policies. Green politics and economic politics go hand in hand. And it's even that the European Commission, not always our ally, is making that point in their own reports. As long as they're not legislative, they make the points. They tell us that green policies for renewables and efficiency will deliver 1.5 million jobs until 2020. They have shown that the import of fossil fuel was 10 billion euros lower because of the shift in countries to renewables and efficiency. These kind of issues show that economic-wise policies are green economies, or green policies. The green economy is our centerpiece, and that's the only future economy that we are fighting for and can expect. And in this next term, we as Greens are also in very important positions if we think on 2015, when there needs to be a new international climate deal. Because that will be done in Paris, so the president is going to be France. And there is, of course, for our French Green colleagues, a very important role, certainly for Pascal Canfin. But, interestingly enough, at that moment, the second half of 2015, also Luxembourg will be the president of the EU. And guess who are now in the Luxembourgian government. Greens. So therefore we have in hand to make a success of Paris to prevent it from being another Copenhagen in 2015. But important it becomes is, of course, like I said, the national member states. And then what do? Let's go to the United Kingdom. They are the most outspoken force to say we should have only one target for climate and leave it to the markets to decide. They don't believe in green industrial policies that we in the parliament have been fighting for. But that's what they say. But what do they do back home? They are promising 35 years long price guarantee for nuclear energy. They are giving tax exemptions for shale gas. If there is one country doing energy policy, industrial policy, it's the UK, but they choose for nuclear and shale gas, and that is exactly what we don't want. But we need stronger voices in Brussels to fight this fight. We are having now a majority in the parliament who is going for broader policies. But like I said, in the council, we need stronger voices. And then a big question is, where is Germany? Germany with its grand coalition. This week, the Germans decided not to go for any specific national policies on renewables. They do it back home, but they don't expect it from the European Union to deliver on that. And that's when you are getting to a grand coalition. Even on an issue like GMO maize, where a big majority in Europe wants no GMOs, the German government could only get to an abstention. The Germans abstained on the issue whether we do want to allow GMO maize or not. That's when you get a grand coalition. And who is one of the constructors of this grand coalition in Germany? It is Martin Schulz. He's the candidate of the Social Democrats. Probably next week he will be elected because he's the only candidate. They don't do primaries. And then, of course, he will also fight for a new majority in the European Parliament. And that is going to be one of the big fights for us. Are we getting also this grand coalition of Christian Democrats and Social Democrats in the European Parliament? If we leave it to Martin Schulz, the answer is clear. He has shown what he delivers in Germany. He delivers grey politics with only leading to abstentions. And that's not what we Greens want. Because that's very clear. If there needs to be a change somewhere, it is in the European Parliament. Monica already said it. We don't want a continuation of austerity policies. We don't want a further breakdown of our social welfare state. That is what's going on at this moment. And we do know if we keep on having this very broad, grand coalition of Social Democrats and Christian Democrats, it will be business as usual. It will be continuation of the austerity program. It will be continuation of the further breakdown of our social welfare system. And that is exactly what we Greens will keep on fighting against. And one of the big issues is, of course, which we want to do, is tackle youth unemployment. If you now look at the situation in Greece, Spain, Portugal, because of the Troika policies, it is very clear that the current European policies are only fixing on one number, it's we don't want to get a budget deficit. The only way that leads to is smaller governments, more liberal policies. That direction needs to be changed. And that is at stake with these elections. That is at stake if we get a grand coalition in the European Parliament. We as Greens will make sure that we need investments. We need investments in green jobs. We need investments to get out of youth unemployment. We need investments to make sure that all the people can have a job and will be part of our social welfare system, and they can enjoy it also for the longer term. And to conclude is that we as Greens will certainly fight for this different direction of the European Union in the European Parliament and in the countries of our member states. But we have been doing that, of course, over the last couple of years as well. And therefore, I just briefly want to mention some of our successes of some of our MEPs. I mean, we do have in our middle the most hated man of London City, Philippe Lambert. We have in our middle the woman who really changed fishery policies, Isabel Lövin. We have in our middle the person who is now fighting for real data protection against the Facebooks and Microsofts of the world, Jan-Philippe Albrecht. And very recently adopted in the European Parliament, we have in our middle a woman who has been fighting for LGBT rights forever and now also getting majorities in the European Parliament, Ulrike Lunacek. And these are just some of the examples of green successes all over the place that we are having. And these kind of successes we need also further on the next 5 years. And therefore, these elections are so important. And the formal slogan is, this time it's different. Well, I can tell you, it's only different if you vote green. Thank you.